Big smile.
Just wanted to give everyone an update that today's Physical Services Committee meeting is awaiting a quorum, and we expect to have that by approximately 4 o'clock, if not a little sooner. So we appreciate your patience. Thank you. Okay, good afternoon. Apologies for the delay. Thank you for your patience. At this time, it's 4:02, and I would like to call to order the meeting of the Fiscal Services Committee for Monday, March 27th, 2023. And I would ask you to please silence your phones and electronic devices, and that the microphones, remind you that the microphones in this statutory committee room are very robust and pick up side conversations. So I would ask you to keep those to a minimum. And at this time, I'd ask you to please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Carrie Ann. Would you please call the roll?
Cheney.
Here.
Benton.
Here.
Russia.
Here.
Paduk. Hotel. Skevich. Tui.
Here.
Nuda.
Here.
Reaction.
Thank you. First on our agenda is the County Executive's Office, and it's request confirmation of reappointments to the Board of Directors of the Orange County Soil and Water Conservation District. Could I get a motion in a second?
Second.
Brescia and Menuda.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here on behalf of County Executive Steve Newhouse to request the confirmation of reappointments to the Board of Directors of the Orange County Soil and Water Conservation District as presented.
Any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
All right. Next, Eric Denenga, Department of Public Works, requests to authorize the filing of an application for acceptance of 50% of funds expended on 2022 household hazardous waste collection events and the acceptance of state assistance from the Household Hazardous Waste State Assistance Program and the signing of the associated state master grant contract under the appropriate laws of New York State, $53,338.88, legislative request number 74. Could I get a motion in a second? Legislator Tui, Legislator Menuda, thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Just typically standard requests that we do every year. It's just the process. We can get in the grant funding. It is approximately half the cost of the program, which is normally over 100,000. Four events a year typically, and we're in the process now of extending the contract to cover this year as well.
Questions or comments? All right, seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Carried. Thank you. Next, we have a request to authorize the county executive in conjunction with the Orange County Department of Public Works Airport to accept a grant from the New York State Department of Transportation to replace the existing airport beacon construction. Capital project number 567 has been established and no additional funding is required. State share 100%, $14,450, legislative request number 78. Could I get a motion in a second? Second. Legislator Benton and Legislator Brescia. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Just accepting funds, just to clarify that it says 100% share, it's 100, this is the 5% state share, which is 14,450. But the way the state has it rated up, it's 100% of the 5% that they're covering. So just to clarify that, normally it was originally it is a 90% federally funded project, 5% state, 5% local, which is a lot of the airport funded projects that we see. And this is just 100% of the state.
Questions or comments?
They don't pay any more than they have to.
All right. I'll call the question. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Okay, next we have a request to amend resolution number 334 of 2020 to reflect the correct fund/organization combination and to move the budget. Supplemental appropriation is requested, legislative request number 95. So moved. Legislator Tui, thank you. And Legislator Rivas. Go ahead, Commissioner.
This is just correcting a mistake with the way that the building was accounted for. This is based on a project that was done back in 2000, somewhere between 2009, 2011. It was the Camp Maples Bridge project, town of Crawford. Federal aid project. We're closing out some of the DOT with the DOT process, and some local funding was needed, and it's just correcting a resolution from 2020 that had a wrong number on it. That's all it is.
Okay. Questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Good. Next up, we have resolutions from Parks Department. First being a request to accept and appropriate insurance funds for the fire damage to the roof and gym Ottaway building in the Arboretum located at Thomas Bull Memorial Park. Upon approval, a new capital project will be created, $512,241.90. It's legislative request number 67. Could I get a motion? Legislator Tui, a second. Legislator Menuda, thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner.
So basically, this is, what it says, we're gonna ask to receive $512,000 and change to begin to rebuild the Ottaway building.
Questions or comments? Legislator Tui.
How long do you anticipate before that's back?
We have the architects who did a field visit. They're preparing their bids, and we should have the bids back next week. And choose an architect and green light them, develop the plans, and put it up to bid. We're hoping that by the summertime, end of the summer, we can go on.
Legislator Chairman.
Will these funds, is this capped, or will these funds
These funds,
cover everything?
these funds will want to cover everything.
They won't cover everything. That's the maximum insurance we provide.
Yes.
Do we know what the total might be?
Lucky we did.
I mean, the building was built in the 90s, so, obviously, many of the codes have changed. So we have to work through ADA, we have to work through fire suppression, so see where it all shakes out.
Legislator Bennett.
Yeah, I'd say we're just lucky we had insurance on the building, because lots of times, the county is just self-insured, and
Worked out, it worked out for sure.
Okay, thank you. Any other further questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Next, we have a request supplemental appropriation to the Parks 2023 operating budget for the arboricultural and forestry consulting and fencing services, $61,000, legislative request number 89. Motion is Legislator Tui, Legislator Bennett. Okay. Any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Next, we have a request supplemental appropriation of the capital projects budget for the deck replacement at the Gramsci Lodge, Stony Ford Golf Course, Montgomery, New York. Upon approval, the new capital project will be created, $157,686, bonding, and its legislative request number 96. Could I get a motion in a second, please?
So moved.
Legislator Menuda.
Second.
Legislator Tui, thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Okay, so if this is familiar, we came in earlier. And last week I asked Joe to come out and take a look also. This is part of our preventative maintenance program that we, did during the winter months, and we knew this was a problem that's gotten progressively worse. All of the hangers need to be replaced. That many of the beams need to be replaced. In order to do that work, we would need to replace the decking and the railing. Previously, we had asked for some bids, and they were shockingly high. We talked to our staff and we believe that in-house, our guys can take care of this a section at a time. And currently it is a safety issue. We have it blocked off right now.
Legislative Gresham.
You're replacing this Trex with Trex?
I don't think it may be called Trex that was there, but I mean, I know we talked about this before in the 90s, they had that type of decking material that really failed. So the newer Trex is what it will be replaced with.
You're gonna use stainless steel fasteners and everything, and do the gapping properly.
Yes, now they have those.
So this, you know, every year they should be washing this,
We do,
yeah?
we do. We
I
do.
hope they don't overwash it, but you don't only need like dishwashing.
Yeah, but I mean,
believe it or not.
the color is faded so bad. I mean, it's not even close to the original color, but there was a representative from the the LVL company there today. He did verify that the LVLs are treated and that they are well within the tolerance level. The chipping or the scraping that you see is normal. So it's not the, fortunately, the LVLs are fine.
LVL.
LVL.
Limited linear lumber, it's exterior beams, that are in question, but no longer in question.
Legislative Ed.
So this is the deck that was put up when we did the complete renovation of the building?
That is correct.
And what year was that again?
Like 06, 05.
All right. So, I mean, isn't this like prematurely aged out? I mean,
I think there's, that's up to interpretation. I mean,
Okay.
maybe Joe would know. I think decks generally, maybe what, a 20-year lifespan on decks.
So typically,
Yes, go ahead.
so typically the decking, you're probably looking at like 20 years. The decks themselves supposedly have 50-year lifespan. The hangers that are there are inadequate for what's there. Any use of salt, if that was salted at all, whether it's a mistake or not, that salt deteriorates those Emax fasteners badly, and some of them are actually busted through. When I met with Commissioner Brooks, we agreed that one section was in bad shape and needed to be basically blocked off to allow anybody access it, because the hangers actually split. I also found from the drawings, the original drawings, that for whatever reason, the contractor framed it in the wrong direction on the right-hand side, so it's not even in accordance with the drawings. So there's the one structural failure that there is pretty severe. There's a triple 2x10 there, but only a single 2x10 is holding up something about like a 20-foot span.
Was
the
Trex gapped properly?
So I don't know if it was Trex, but whatever the composite
Was it
lumber
gapped
was,
though?
it's all there, it's gapped. They got, there's a piece that's slipping between, I'm just missing
Yeah, the gap, yeah.
well, no, it's not so much the gap, but the fastener is actually in between the boards. The boards aren't screwed in, okay? So they're allowed to move and slip. So with that particular decking, if you do pin it at some point, you're gonna get it to wrinkle and it's not gonna do right. But on the one right side, there's more than, it's actually really dangerous. There's the 2x10 is at least 1.5 inches down deflected in the middle, and the other two are right behind it, secured firmly. So that's why we're seeing the warping in the deck material and everything else. Once the structural stuff gets taken care of, I think the decking will sort itself out. But we do have that material with the high sun exposure that's on the side. When they first came out with Trex or whatever the composite material was at the trade shows, it's maintenance free. And then
Yeah.
2 years later, they had all the maintenance products for it at the shows.
Are the joists, the hangers, are they galvanized or are they stainless steel?
So there's Emax, so some of them are steel and painted, so the cap beam connectors are heavy gauge steel and they're painted. They do have some rust on them, they should probably be cleaned up and repainted. But the Emax fasteners by Simpson are all rusted, every single one of them. And so they all need to be replaced. I think the wood's probably still in good shape, but with the indication of where this is, in particular with the lake or the ponds that are close by, I think it's within a mile radius of a pond. You're supposed to use stainless steel anyway on those fasteners. So everything should be stainless steel.
On the salt is gonna be the worst thing.
Right, but the high moisture
Probably
content.
throwing salt on there too.
Right, and then we also had the change of material, so you got the old copper azole, excuse me, the new, the old one was arsenic, or something of that nature, and the new one is copper azole, yeah. CCA, right, so the new is copper azole, the other one was the old stuff that people were getting sick from, so.
Okay.
You got all that, so the fasteners gotta be right, so anyway, sorry for the long-winded thing, but it was a very robust site visit we had, and I'm glad that the warehouser came out and took a look at their beams, and they said they were in good shape, so. Obviously, he's gonna need some monies here, so I think we should probably just move this thing along and do the appropriation as he sees fit for it, and what can be taken out is taken out.
Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There we go. Next, we have a request supplemental appropriation of the capital projects budget in the amount of $100,000 for Parks Historical Structures Initiative, reconstruction of powder mill structures. Upon approval, funds will be added to capital project number 719. In the 2023 capital plan, proposed project number 115 was for $300,000. This is an additional amount of $100,000. It's bonding and it's legislative request number 81. Can I get a motion and a second?
So moved.
Please, Legislator Benson and Legislator Menuda. Go ahead, Commissioner.
You see on the packet in front of you, this has been going on for a while. We've received the bidding package, bids back from the contractor. So we're a little short to do the first phase there, which is the hatched area. And it's basically it.
So it exceeded the original budget that was set for the project.
Well, we had been, you guys had set aside X amount of dollars for a number of years for projects like this. We
Okay.
we did not expend that money in the previous 1 or 2 years. So that built up plus this year, and ultimately, we're about 100 grand short to do this project.
And what did the bids come in at? The low bid?
668.
Any questions or comments?
Just
Go ahead.
curiosity, I'm seeing the images here, which are just kind of like these masonry structures. What are we doing with those? Just maintaining them where they are? Or what is this?
So I think it's on the, it's just be on the first, it's structures 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 29, and 35. So the replacement of deteriorated missing brick and stone masonry, rebuilding portions of stone masonry walls, brick chimney and tunnel, masonry cleaning, masonry pointing, replacement of wood lintels, construction of new concrete footings, and stone foundation walls for the tunnel, and new work at tunnel openings. And then
I'm sorry, Jim, I just, are we rebuilding these structures? That
We're
will be
stabilizing.
usable?
Stabilizing them.
Stabilizing,
state
but-
line pointing them
so
up.
it's like Stonehenge, it's gonna remain the way it looks?
At this point, that's the plan.
Pretty much.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, there's a lot that needs to be cleaned up within each of these, which is accumulation of leaves and such that have composted themselves over the last 20 years or more. And so there's a lot of cleaning that needs to be done. And obviously, there's a lot of rocks that have fallen in the different structures as well. They recover those and actually then start to repoint and rebuild and secure the fissures and such, let's say, that are in there now, and to stabilize them and bring them back to basically one piece.
Thanks.
Legislator Tui.
Jim, you said that the low bid for the whole entire job is 668.
That's correct.
So we have 300,000, we got another 100,000. Is there a grant to pick up the rest of it, or is we back to get more money to finish this off?
And we don't, there's another plan.
So where will that difference come between the 400,000 and the 668?
I think there's a balance in there, right?
There's an available balance in the capital projects of 575,000, so we're adding 100,000, so we get
Great.
668.
Any further questions or comments? Hey, seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Hey, next, we had a request to have a financial analysis prepared for us of golf operations, since the money isn't always obvious as to where things necessarily go relative to golf. And so Deputy Commissioner Crawford did this, and I'd just like to have her walk us through it.
Sure. So on the spreadsheet that we created, you'll see the budgeted amount versus the actual amounts from 2015 to 2022. What we did was we adjusted the budget to reflect the concessionaire's revenue coming into this budget, because it typically does not, but it should be applied to this budget. And then we removed portions of personal services on work that our golf maintenance staff works on that is not related to golf. It could be snow plowing, it could be helping with tree trimming, doing other maintenance around the parks, but it's not strictly for golf. So when we do that, you see over the past 3 years, we are actually showing a surplus in these budgets. And that if we remove the items that are not golf related, we are actually running both golf courses on user fees only.
I know that,
We're not using taxation.
So,
well, you're receiving taxation
Correct.
at the beginning of the year, but you're then putting more than that taxation back in the way of revenues that were earned and not expended.
yeah, I think one of the major takeaways, if you look at the graph, so, and Mike Amadeo was the deputy commissioner before, and he was there for many years. We never really reached these levels. And I think it's testament to the commitment from the legislature and the C's office on the investment into the golf courses. We have done, a tremendous amount of work there. And from golf cart paths to upgrading the IT, to the wells, to the irrigation, drainage, golf carts, Golf Now, the way we operate during the golf season also was in regards to employees and personnel and hours. We've raised our fees. So I think, a culmination of all this has led us to this. And I'm confident that, it will absolutely continue into the future if it's run the way we're running it now. The new equipment also is a big, we started with a 5-year plan for all new equipment. This year was the last year of that. So it all points to good stuff.
Oh, if you go back to 2019 and you look at the actuals for the revenues for the special recreational facility, that's the money coming in from the golf fees, basically, correct?
Correct,
And
yes.
so it was 1.3 million, and then it jumped to 2, and it's stayed right up there
Mhm.
since then. So obviously what you're doing is working. And I think it's important to have this laid out so that all of the legislators can really understand the nuances, because everything isn't in one category. So you have to kind of find it where it is and calculate it accordingly. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, that's what you're doing there is great. I agree with that. Approximately 240 hours of staff time is used for spraying in county non-park facilities, airport jail, and other buildings. Are there chargebacks for that?
No, we haven't charged back.
No, we don't
in the
charge back.
past.
You could, though. You could, but I'm just, I don't know if you need to or not, but
It's like
that's extra, that's extra.
It's like taking it out of that pocket, putting it in the right pocket.
No, I know. Some departments do that, some don't.
But certainly if the funding is supported by grants or other sources,
Correct.
it's important to do that, like charges to heavily subsidized portions of the budget. Those chargebacks would be appropriate, because we just kind of be selling ourselves short.
I think one of the options too is to search and look into having, employees in the different departments, the airport or the DPW or the jail, get the type of certification you need to do the spraying. And then they could, They could do it themselves also.
Nobody wants to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't-
they could, but, you know,
Probably
for,
memory too.
for a small portion of the time,
Yeah.
you know, it's better to have an expert that's, you know, doing it for 7 or 8 months of the year and, you know, be able to make that available to the other entities in the county, the departments in the county that need it.
100%.
Legislative ban.
Insecticides, pesticides, and that sort of stuff,
Yes,
fertilizers.
yes, yes.
Legislative maneuver.
I just want to thank you for putting this on here because obviously when we're looking at this, we have to look at all of the other benefits and other departments that are benefiting from the services that you're providing. So that's a big thank you. 19, if I'm just reading this right, it was a deficit of 534,000.
It's not that there was a deficit, it's that they used, if you look, the revenue was 1.8 million and the expenses was 1.883. So there was a $40,000 deficit, but when you remove the county taxation, you're seeing even a larger deficit.
I understand. Thank you for clarifying.
No problem.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was set so that that was taken into account, the county taxation.
Okay.
Majority Leader Fagione?
Thank you, Chairman, and great stuff from the Parks Department. As always, you guys do great things. I have one big question, Winding Hills Park for camping, when's it gonna open this year?
We open,
May 5th,
All
we're
right.
hoping to open. We are paving the campsites. So that's going to happen starting May 1st. We're hoping that they're done and we can open.
Well, I'll be glad to be camping there this summer. It's a
Awesome.
great park and it's a great facility, so glad to hear that. Thank you.
no potholes going in or, up to the campsites. Once you get done paying.
It's a great place to bring your bicycle. You ride from the lake up to the campground. That's a nice steep hill, so
Yeah.
keep up the good work there. Thank you. So early May, excellent. Thank you, Chairman.
You're welcome. Deputy Commissioner, thank you very much.
You're
for
welcome.
this.
Anytime.
Much appreciated.
Yep.
And, if there are any questions by any legislators that weren't
free
here
to reach
today,
out.
I'll have them reach out to you.
Yep, of course. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, next item on the agenda. Catherine Benelli, Chairwoman of the Orange County Legislature. Resolution confirming appointment of at-large resident to the Duchess Quarry Sites National Register District Management Committee, L. O'Brien. Can I get a motion in a second, please? Legislator Tui. Legislator Bentley.
Well, as you all know, we established a Duchess Quarry Sites National Register District Management Committee. I don't know why we didn't make it a shorter name, but that's how we did it. The committee does comprise of 10 members. 3 of those members come from the Orange County Legislature. 1 is a designee from the county executive. Another is the Commissioner of Parks, who just left the room, Orange County Historian, 2 representatives from the Incorporated Orange County Chapter of New York State Archaeological Association that is nominated by their organization and confirmed by this legislature, and 2 at-large residents of Orange County appointed by the chairman of the legislature. The committee is chaired currently by legislator Lee Benton. He has notified me that there is a vacancy. And that term will expire actually on December 31st of 2023. He, along with some other people in consulting on the committee, have referred Lawrence E. O'Brien. And if you look at the attachment, you will see he has extensive knowledge and experience in geology, and not only experience, but a lot of education. So I come before you to ask for his appointment to fill the vacancy on the Duchess Quarry Committee.
Any questions or comments?
No, I'll just make a comment as the chairman of the committee. Yes, with the vacancy, I asked Dr. Cass, the member of the committee, for a recommendation for someone who would fit. And this Mr. O'Brien was a former colleague of his at Orange County Community College. So yes, he's a geologist, he's an educator, and I think he'd be a great fit.
Good. Other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Carried.
And again, it won't be really official until it's voted on at the next legislative session.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, the desk is cleared. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Legislator Tui, Legislator Menuda, Legislator Griffin. All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.